Hello and welcome to Health and Beauty Hacks. I'm your host, Mia Sines. And in this episode, I'm going to introduce you to someone who I adore. Her name is Sharon Otness. She is like one of my go-to people, where she's going to be talking about love and sobriety, but she's also a nutritional coach. She designs and photographs foods for magazines and books, and she's always working on something better for your health. And this is one reason why I love her, because she's so well-rounded. So welcome, Sharon. It's lovely to have you here.
Hi, Mia. I was trying to think, how long have we known each other? Like
We have
10
known,
years?
yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah, a long, long time, and our paths have gone so beautifully. It's
Yes, and you're one of
lovely.
my favorite people, and I'm so happy that you're doing this to share with everybody so many different aspects of health and a lot of the little things we can do, right? There's so many small things that we can do to just, keep adding in better health for ourselves.
Right. And it's amazing. Not only are we born on the same day, or same we have the same birthday.
But you're younger.
By a little bit. What's so beautiful is that Sharon has these different avenues about her, and I'm going to have her share a story in a minute. But like the sobriety piece, so many people feel so much shame to talk about what it's like to have either an addiction with alcohol or sex or something else, or food, and so she does allow us to gently move into the place of understanding how to move past it. Sharon, share with us a little bit about your journey that brought you to the subject that we're talking about today, but also a little bit about all the stuff that you've done, because you're just like the go-to girl.
The go-to girl. It's interesting because it's almost 18 years to the day. It was on the 18th that I woke up one morning, sort of, I guess, mid-morning. And I remember looking sort of hazily over, and I saw my daughter, who was, I think, about 14 at the time, looking at me through the door. And there was so much disappointment in her eyes. And she was like the love of my life, right? Well, still is. And I thought, oh God, what have I done? It was like yet one more time that you end up waking up, glass of wine next to the bed, a bottle of wine hidden in the closet. And, I'd just gone off. And it scared me this time because I really just sort of blacked out. Mm-hmm. And what else scared me is that, oh my God, this is the love of my life, and I'm going to lose her. Mm-hmm. So, sometimes you talk about different bottoms, and trust me, you do not have to hit rock bottom when you decide to do something about an addiction. Please don't. It's better if you don't. But that was really my bottom. Mm-hmm. And so it was right then and there, as she left the door, I just thought, this is it. I need help. So, it was a matter of just really, really deciding this time and asking for help. So, the two in combination. And I think that's really important, is that is something that we don't do easily alone, especially if it comes to alcohol and drugs. Mm-hmm. Well, any of it really. But because, you think about it, like, what is addiction? And I think everybody really is addicted to something nowadays.
They are.
It's a compulsive, chronic, psychological or physiological need for a habit-forming substance, behavior, or activity having harmful physical, physiological, or social effects, and typically cause well-defined symptoms: anxiety, irritability, tremors, nauseousness, upon withdrawing or abstinence. Mm-hmm. So there's so many things we can think of there. And we'll dive deeper into that, but you wanted to know a little bit more about, where I came from. So that was my bottom. That was when I needed help. And I did go into a medical detox for a few days. Then I did go into a 30-day, kind of your typical 30-day, you know, talk therapy with group. And so that was my beginning of the 18 years I have now.
Wow.
But in between then and now, oh my goodness, you know, so much has happened. And I had been an interior designer. I was an interior designer for 30 some years. So I think that's where I also get, like you say, I've got a broad array of things that I love to do. It's mostly creativity based, you know, so, you know, it's where I make the malas, I make skincare, you know, I do all of those kinds of things. I love to photograph food, and food being, to me, our very foundational part of our health.
Yeah.
So if there's one
Food
tip
is medicine, I think I learned from you. Food is medicine.
Yeah, the food is medicine, you know, so
early on I learned that, you know.
Yeah, we need to really care for our body. So when we talk about, you know, some things that we can do to heal ourselves, I start number one with food, you know, because I think that I remember always thinking, you know, with drinking came what I call cocktail party food. You know, and and it's interesting because I'm such an introvert. My husband was just the opposite. He was Mr. Party guy, always, you know, inviting people over at the drop of a hat. I learned very quickly how to expand a dinner for 2 into 10. You know, I was always cooking and entertaining, but along with that came a lot of at first social drinking, expanding into a whole lot more.
Right.
But, you know, so there was always a lot of, you know, crackers and cheese and charcuterie and, you know, all of those kinds of food, which, you know, in moderation is fine. But, you know, when it's kind of your daily fare, it's a bit much.
You reminded me of something that I think is really important. And I know it was your point. And that is when we do want to correct or change a behavior, especially if it's one around food or drinking or something like that, that's a huge, huge change for us, because there are often times when we get stressed out and we're either craving the alcohol or we're craving that kind of food, right? Oh, that food's
exactly.
fun.
It's like a double-edged sword. Yeah, double-edged. Yes. And that's, again, I would say, you know, and then oftentimes, you know, if you're like a little hungover the next day, what do you go to? Usually kind of greasy, icky, you know, food, because for some reason it kind of makes us feel better until it doesn't, right? So yeah, it's just, you know, a really bad place to be for your body, because you're hitting it on every single level. And then you're probably not exercising as well. And, you know, so you just out and out not caring for yourself the way you should.
So besides the toll that it takes on our body that you shared, can we talk a little bit about, or will you share a little bit about the shame and the guilt that also goes with it?
Yes. First, I just want to say one thing, and I know that you have men and women here, but I'm going to address women for a moment because this is so important for me. The harm that, and I'm going to use alcohol a lot here as an example, because that's kind of where I come from and mostly who I help. But there's this whole like mommy wine culture, and the fact that, you know, all the ads and things that make it look like, you know, you can't have fun without alcohol. You can't, you know, how can you possibly get through motherhood without drinking? You know, that's the cure-all for everything.
Or come and party while the kids play, kind of thing.
And it's harming women badly. And through this pandemic, it has not been our friend, with all the extra anxiety that come along. Suddenly you've got the kids home more, whatever age they are. You know, it's kind of, you know, tilted our axis big time. And, you know, really people are encouraging drinking so much. Please, please, please be careful. That's what I want to say, because the impact on women's health is huge. You know, studies show that women in particular, more than men, because we just don't metabolize alcohol as well, we're increased risk for damage to our heart, shows increased risk of different types of cancers, mouth, liver, of course, esophagus, breast cancer, brain. Women are greater risk for alcohol-related brain and neurological issues. So please be careful, women. I mean, everybody, yes, but women, be careful, and please don't buy into that. You know, all the fun memes, you know, I know they're meant to be fun, but they can be very harmful if you're thinking that that is okay. It's really not.
It's also, I find it, you know, my journey, I didn't start drinking until 10 years ago. I had never had alcohol in my life. And so I found it to be fun. You
Sure.
know, I was a party girl a little bit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Well,
those
you know,
memes make us go, oh, wow, when really we need to, like what you're saying is, be aware of the subtlety that it puts on us, because, you know, all of a sudden we're like, oh, well, yeah, I really could use that. But all we have to do is click that we don't want to see that kind of a post, and those type of stuff will leave your news feed, literally.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, and it hits us from everywhere. I mean, from billboards and television, certainly social media. You know, it just hits on all levels again. So I just want women in particular to be very careful there. I know that before we even had all those memes and even a name for the mommy wine culture, it was before I was even on social media, I started going down that path. And it was really like very subtle, you know, suddenly finding, well, sure, I can have a glass of wine at lunch. Why not? You know, and then it's like, well, that seems to be normal. So then you know, it just kept getting earlier and earlier. Yeah. So it can be very insidious, these addictions, right? And it's a lot about, you know, coping skills and anxiety and, you know, all the things that are coming at us, the stress. You know, I will say it works, right? There is nothing quicker than when you're feeling anxious or stressed to have that glass of wine or a drink of some sort, and bingo, right? You feel, like you said, all right, party time.
Yeah.
Like, yes. And because I still remember the feeling myself, getting home from work, having that first glass of wine and going, right? It works. I think that's, again, why it gets so insidious.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a matter of, and this is what I really want to, you know, go over with viewers here, is so many different things that we can do instead, right? Things that are healing and loving. But, you know, when we're talking about shame, definitely I wanted to talk about that, because, you know, how we talk to ourselves is so important. And you know this, I know you're a master at it. You know, we need to talk to ourselves in a very loving way, talking and shaming ourselves and blaming ourselves. We get enough of that from society. You know, you might be getting it from your friends and relatives already. You know, are they noticing some changes in your behavior? Are they saying, you mean you're doing that again? You know, what are you doing that for? You know, and it's always with that little bit of an edge. You know, you can feel it.
Yeah.
So,
you know, can I just say something?
You
reminded me so clearly as you were saying that. It really is in that space. So I stopped drinking alcohol this year because of healing the cancer. You know, it's got a lot of sugar in it. So obviously it's like right there, and it's not the sugar we want. So it's really not loving to blame and shame yourself. And we know that, but here's what it does. It mixes you up. It gets your emotional state charged, and you want it. You want it even more. And I just want to say this one thing, because I was thinking about how I gave up my dirty martinis. I still eat the olives, but I just don't have the vodka with it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because really, that's that flavor.
Suck on lemon if you like it.
Right?
So whatever you like. If you like a lemon martini, suck on the lemon. Do something different. But there are alternatives.
Absolutely. Yes. Finding, you know, that fun beverage of choice. And there's so many options out there now. It's great. So yes, you know, this is not about denying yourself. It is totally changing. And before I get much into that, you know, the shame piece though, of, you know, judging yourself, hiding your feelings, like, let's get our feelings out there. It's not comfortable, but the more we can get our feelings out, the better we are going to be, because then we can start to heal some of the things that, you know, we need to heal about ourselves and about what has happened. And don't stay silent. Well, that does not mean you have to get out on social media like I do and say, or I'm an alcoholic or an addict or whatever. But but even, you know, telling yourself like, okay, you know, I'm addressing this.
Mhm.
This is what's happening. You know, where can I do something different? How can I love myself more?
Mhm.
Because that's the whole thing. And I know that when I went through nutrition school, this is the one thing that stood out to me the most, and has always, it's just always been a foundation. And that is, you want to add in good things, crowding out the bad, right? So what happens with addiction? Add in those loving and nurturing behaviors, all the love you can give yourself and all the beautiful things you can do for yourself, to crowd out that need for that drug or addictive behavior, right?
Yes.
And because as you're releasing those unwanted behaviors, your soul needs are met when you are doing some beautiful things for yourself.
Mhm. Yes. You know, I was just imagining a lot of women like to drink a glass of wine in the tub, because I was thinking about how you're saying change your behavior.
Oh, that was me.
So was it,
Oh yeah.
you know, I still am trapped with my childhood stuff from, you know, there's no food allowed in the bathtub. You know, I should go do that just for fun, have, you know, water in the bathtub or something. But it's interesting because you can change that, ladies. You can, and gentlemen, you can get a grape juice. You could get you know, tonic water. You could get, you know, freshly squeezed juice or something that can support you. Would you agree with that?
For sure. In fact, one of the things I was, you know, one of the loving behaviors I was going to talk about is that therapeutic bathing.
Yeah.
And by that I mean, oh sure, there's nothing wrong with just putting warm water in a tub and lying in it, but let's like juice it up, right? You know, I'm just going to show you. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this? Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So this is like one of my special blends, and I just encourage you to make something fun like this.
Oh,
It's
gorgeous.
Epsom salts, which of course remineralize our bodies. So good for us. It's relaxing. But why not put in some fun like pink Himalayan salt? And in here I have some essential oils, of course, but I have like some flower petals, you know, some lavender, and I just finished doing some roses and a little chamomile. So, you know, this is what I talk about, like self-love, giving, you know, just really nurturing the heck out of yourself. And then you definitely, if you're having up some salt, you want that glass of water. So you're right on, have a nice big glass of water, because you need to keep yourself hydrated. Even though you're lying in water doesn't mean you don't need to add water in your body. And then why not put some beautiful crystals over by your head? Like we do all of that in a candle. Who needs a glass of wine? Now we got it all right here.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. Yeah.
So
That's a great idea.
yeah, so that's part of just creating a beautiful ritual for yourself, right?
I love that. Yeah.
Another one is, you know, we talk about shame, but let's talk about like forgiveness, is forgiving ourselves, right? And it can be just as simple as, I've got an essential oil blend here that is called Forgive, but why not just take something that you love and just put it near your heart. And as you do, just say, I forgive you. I love you. I forgive you. Just such a simple little thing, right? Yeah. But again, it's just these little hits of nurturing and loving yourself, making yourself feel special again, because you probably lost that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I love that. That's, and this, like how you brought the stones or even the oil, it totally removes the whole glass of wine, literally.
Right. Yeah, I think so. You know, you've created this beautiful ritual of these other loving pieces that they also work in your brain. They work in a good way, right? And they work energetically with your body. Yeah. Alcohol's a neurotoxin. I don't care what all these romantic things they say about it. It's a neurotoxin. It doesn't really belong in our bodies.
Right.
Very minimal if you're going to do it. So yeah, and amethyst. I mean, I think anybody that has a problem with addictions should have an amethyst. If you're not even into crystals, whatever, just get a little tumbled amethyst, keep it in your pocket or something. Amethysts have been used for centuries for addiction, in particular alcohol. So, you know, just having, it's like a little touchstone, right?
Right. You know,
Yeah.
it's funny, we are not new at this. This has been going on for centuries, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's just, you know, and now that we are so out of our element, we're so out of our element and living in environments that just are not very conducive to our bodies, really, our natural body rhythms. And so, you know, I think that anything we can do, and another one on my list, of course, is getting out in nature. Anything we can do to sort of ground ourselves back into the earth. That's what kind of crystals do for me. Getting outside, and as much as you can, if you can throw your shoes off and barefoot it, you know, like get yourself to the earth. You and I now live near an area where there's just tons of fresh green trees and we can breathe that in. But yeah, getting outside, getting in nature, you know, that's another way. Instead of having that glass of wine, go for a walk.
Right. And that's sobriety, health, mental health, physical health.
All of it.
That's perfect. Perfect.
All of it.
One of my healing things, as you know, this year has been adding on this going into the forest that I love so greatly. And I found it it's funny because people think, oh, a forest is a forest. It's not. Each one is different. Each one has its own magical energy. So why not, you know, and yes, I'm a plant person. So why not, you know, experience that or something else, your ocean or whatever it is, go there and think about loving yourself there instead of picking up the bottle of wine, you know?
Exactly. And you know, I mean, meet yourself wherever you're at. I know with my daughter, she just came for a visit and we had lots of good talks. So that's another thing, is making sure you keep your connections. But, you know, she lives in New York City. She lives in an apartment. She doesn't have a garden. You know, she does go out for walks as much as possible, but she's surrounding herself right now with plants indoors. And so that's her salvation, right? Again, getting that greenery, getting that, you know, gifts of the earth near you is just a beautiful, beautiful ritual and habit.
Yeah. Very, you know, a lot of people don't think about the benefits until they're in a space where they have to.
Yes.
So it's why not move into that space now? You know, it's the more loving, gentle way.
Exactly. And, you know, right now, I think that as much as, again, things have tilted us on our axis, one thing that it has created, whether it was by choice or by no choice, is that I think it's made us slow down. Slow down, you know, and I know for myself, once I kind of got off the shock of what the heck was happening, it was like, okay, you know, I'm here more. I will create more beauty in my environment. This is my time to kind of slow down and do that. So that's another thing, you know, creating maybe a little altar of sorts for yourself. And it can be so easy. Just, you know, again, a crystal, an essential oil, a candle, maybe a little smudge wand if you are into that, a beautiful book, a picture, you know, something that's special to you that you just can set your eyes upon when you need to just have a contemplative rest, or you can sit in front of it. You can do a little mantra. Like here's one that I wrote down that's just so simple. You know, the Hawaiian prayer? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can do like a little mantra with that. You know, it's, I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. I am sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. So you could just do some sort of little routine like that, little mantra.
I think mantras are very important.
They're powerful.
Yeah. There was a point in my teaching about 10, maybe 8 to 10 years ago. I didn't find that the affirmations or mantras I felt that they were beneath us. But then I grew back into them, and I'll tell you why, everyone, because it sets our brain patterns, and even more our, at the time, maybe I didn't need it for that, but I still needed to teach it. And so I brought it back in, and I've used it about my healing. I also chant, literally, when she says the malas and the mantras, I take my malas and I go, remember, there's 108 beads, and I go through them, and I am in spontaneous remission. And so once I started doing that with all the other stuff, everything changed. My mindset changed. It took 2 weeks for me to be able to say, and I'm talking about chanting, or maybe a week and a half, chanting every day over 100 times. This is how strict or tight our subconscious is. It wants to hold on. I was having a hard time saying spontaneous remission. And it was simply because I was still fighting my old programming, right? I'm sick, I'm not healthy, I'm this, I'm that. And so once I got it in there, it's such a breeze. In the middle of the night, if I go to the bathroom and I can't fall back asleep right away, I just start going over, I'm in spontaneous remission, over, and I move my fingers because I don't have my beads at that point, you know, and I have fallen asleep with my beads on me, you know, doing my, so it's very vital. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a beautiful part of healing.
Yeah. And again, you know, none of these are hard things. So you don't have to pick every one of them, you know, but pick one or two that,
and we can add more and more as we go along.
I mean, by no means did I do all of this at first. I was fumbling, stumbling around. I was white knuckling it. I was, you know, I was doing all the things you shouldn't do, right, when you start in sobriety, really, literally. And so sometimes I think, oh my God, how did I even do it? I don't know. You know, people ask me, how did you do it? And I'm like, I was in such a kind of a daze half the time, you know, at the very beginning. I don't know that I still can't really put my finger on it, other than, like I said, a little bit was fear of losing, you know, the last thing that I had that was so important for me to honor, which is my daughter. So, you know, if you can't do it for yourself at first, because you probably don't have that self-love anymore, you need to get it back. Do it for something else. You know, find something to hang on to. So that would be my, if you're brand new to it, or you're just thinking about, okay, I need to do something, that will be my, you know, my next step is to find something that's like your touchstone that you can really hang on to.
That's a beautiful point. When I was supposed to leave this planet 12 years ago, when the doctors said that my organs were closing and that I had less than 2 years to live, and I had been you know this story, but I'm just sharing it really quick to the audience. I'd been hit on the head 5 times with boxes at a department store, and it was everything, you know, I can't say the name, but it's, you know, a big store you can buy everything at. And so, and I was taken away by ambulance, and for 3 years, my body decreased. I was in physical therapy 5 times a day. The point is that when I made that shift, just like Sharon is saying, I had to find my touchstone. My touchstone were my kids. That's what I called legacy. I wanted to leave them a legacy that even if I did die, even if the doctors were right, I was working on creating something bigger and better. And I remember telling them, I'm going to try to save my life, or I'm going to work on saving my life here. And I'm going to show you that you can create anything you want in your life. Even if that's all I do in this lifetime, I've done my job. Yes. And my kids still remember that today as being a huge, I believe that that's where they can do certain things that, you know, they wouldn't have been able to do before, because it's called legacy. We do this for us, but we do it for our children. So I love that you brought that up, because I wouldn't have thought to share that story if you hadn't have said that.
Oh, and I love that story. It's just, yeah, it's so powerful.
Yeah, it is powerful when we connect to something that we love so great in order to shift. It's very powerful. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And then, you know, hopefully we'll get back to that point of it coming back to us, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it does. It does, doesn't it?
It does. Your self-respect, you know, the shame melts away. You know, don't have to be so judgmental to yourself.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And even though mine was an illness, it was a different kind, you know, it was a different kind of illness. It's still the same. There's shame, there's guilt, you know, I've been
why can't I do that? Or people pointing their fingers like, what's the matter with you? Why can't you do that? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We can be hard on each other. So that's why we need to be especially good to ourselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Unbelievably, but the time flies. I'm going to let you close it out with something that you haven't shared yet that you'd like to, but share your free gift with us so that we can make sure we get that in.
Okay, yes. One more thing I'm going to share, and I think it's also in my free gift, so I just want to make sure that if you get the free gift, you address it. And that is about Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is one of my favorite meditations. It really kind of hits you on all levels. It does beautiful breath work. It is not yoga like you think of poses. It's Yoga Nidra is, it's a meditation, guided meditation. And it really helps you also with any kind of trauma, PTSD they're using it for. It uses all of your senses. It does a beautiful job with breath work. I love to do it at nighttime and fade off to sleep with it. And there is a free app called Insight Timer, my favorite. I recommend it all the time because there are so many Yoga Nidra meditations on there. Again, it's free. Nice. And that is in my free gift, and that is it's a program that you self-guided. It's called Your Journey to Zen. So it really addresses stress and anxiety, lots of the tools that I have already put in here and talked about today that you can just, again, kind of pick and choose from and go through one at a time.
The reason I love this, hold on. The reason I love this is it's really important for our bodies to do what's in the meditation. What most people in the Western world don't realize is this is true yoga. Yoga originally was breath work, prayer, movement.
Prana, right? Yes.
Yep. Yeah, it's our life force. And so if you didn't know that, you do now. And that's why this gift is so beautiful, because it takes us back to the basics of the basics of the basics, long before the United States or any other English or Western country was in existence, right? So it's incredibly beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're
and before
welcome.
we say goodbye, was there anything else that you wanted to share in tools or anything, or tips or
we have another couple minutes. I think that the other thing yoga, of course, the movement part of yoga, the asanas, that's for sure. But any kind of movement that feels good to you, just whatever feels great. If it's dancing, whatever, but don't use movement and exercise as a punishment to your body, please.
Yeah, right.
So many people I see do that, and it's like, that is not necessary.
It's a celebration for our beautiful body, isn't it?
Yeah. And you want to have that beautiful mind and body connection. And if you're doing it like, then yikes. It doesn't seem very loving to me. So, definitely movement and forgiveness. We went through that. I think we're good. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on.
You're welcome.
I adore you, as you know, and these tips are really good. And anyone who also would like to talk to Sharon, you can reach out to her. We have all that stuff on the website and in the emails and all of that. So thank you.
Love yourself, and I love you.
I love you. And I know you're talking to the audience, but I'm saying I love you.
No, I love you too.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you in another episode of Health and Beauty Hacks. Bye.
Bye.